Films are incredibly layered art forms that are planned out extensively. When creating a film, a director makes meaningful choices with elements like editing and acting to add to the film's overall message. This is clearly demonstrated in films like Shaun of the Dead, which uses these elements to convey the message that we as humans are all zombies in some way, unhappy with our lives and going through the motions without any real purpose. The themes of monotony and unhappiness are introduced in the very first scene as Liz lectures Shaun on wanting more than their boring usual routine of going to the pub for dinner. But this theme isn't shown to be applicable to all people until the film's title sequence. I will first discuss the acting in this scene. One of the things viewers first notice is the lack of energy all of the characters are acted with. Old man, he's hunched over. There's no one to talk to him or help him with pushing the shopping carts, which helps us to understand why he's so tired. In this next shot, the cashier swiping groceries does not do her job with energy and does not make eye contact with the shoppers. This is also the first time we see characters all moving in sync, as all of the other cashiers behind her do the exact same movements at the exact same time, which adds to the idea that this is not just one person unhappy with their lives, but everyone. In the next shot, all of the men online have blank, zombie like expressions. Every other man moves in sync with the other as they all check the time on their phones, which shows their impatience, but also that they are aimless and waiting for something to happen instead of doing it themselves. None of them turn to talk to each other, fidget, or smile, and they all clearly have no energy as their lives have drained them. This here is the most obviously in sync shot of the opening sequence. All of the people in the street bob their heads at the same time and make small steps in unison. They mimic a horde of zombies moving slowly as they do. The last stranger we see in the opening shot is the boy bouncing the ball on his foot. He does not have much energy, and bouncing the ball is a repetitive task, demonstrating the repetitive nature of the lives these characters lead. We are then brought back to Shaun. He stumbles as he walks and yawns. The acting here is clearly emulating how zombies typically act in movies. By using visuals to compare our everyman protagonist to a zombie, the message of this opening sequence is reiterated. People are aimless and drained from their daily lives to the point where they and the real world as a whole are no better than zombies. A quote from the book Better Off Dead: The Evolution of the Zombie as Post-Human affirms this, saying, quote, "Even before the film's zombie crisis explodes, our protagonist appears zombified. The audience's first zombie false alarm occurs as a hungover Shaun stumbles out of his bedroom and the camera slowly pans up from his stiffly stumbling feet. Is that a zombie moan we hear? No, it's just our hero yawning, and this apathetic hero fits the Generation X slacker stereotype." End quote. Next, I'd like to discuss the impact of editing and cinematography on this scene. More with our man in the parking lot. The camera follows him for a moment until it passes a pole and we are brought into the next shot of the woman in the supermarket. The camera lingers on for a moment before we pass another pole to transition to the shot of the men online. We as viewers stay with them again for one moment before the camera passes by a person and brings us onto the street where we see people walking toward us. Just like the shots before, it lingers on the subjects for a long moment until a car passes and the camera is now on the little boy in the street. The camera continues to pan away from him until it ceases movement, and the shot fades into the one of Shaun on the rug. It is important to point out that as this is happening, there are no quick cuts from shot to shot. Instead, the scene is edited so that switching from one shot to another is a smooth transition. In this circumstance, a hard cut from one shot to the other would be jarring, and the point of this scene is to show how dull the lives of these characters are. So rather than having hard cuts to jump from one shot to the next, the editing transitions between shots when an object passes the camera to make us as viewers feel like we are just passing by someone and witnessing their lives for a moment. We are, in this sequence, just as bored as they are, which further develops the message that all people are bored and desensitized to life. Zombies, essentially. Long shots are used later on in the film twice to elicit a similar response. An extended tracking shot in the opening sequence following Shaun from his flat to the local shop is a fantastic piece of cinematography, and the choice to mirror this with the same shot later in the film, once the world has been turned upside down by zombies, is one that is both intelligently cinematic and truly funny. End quote. As mentioned in the quote, the main highlight of this scene is the one long continuous take. This scene is contrasted with another one that happened earlier in the film, and everyone behaves normally as the zombie outbreak hasn't yet reached Shaun's neighborhood. The scene begins with just a few indications of the zombie outbreak before gradually putting more and more in the frame. As Shaun reaches the street with the shop on it, however, the differences between the two scenes become more and more stark. The window of the car is broken instead of being washed. A man previously seen jogging now sprints away from zombies, and overturned objects and trash line the street, being just a few things Shaun misses. As he enters the shop, Shaun even fails to notice the bloody handprint on the glass and that he slipped on blood as he tries to get out a cornetto. In the background, the shopkeeper has transformed into a zombie, which Shaun still manages not to notice. Even as he walks by zombies, he doesn't take notice. Within the shop, Shaun asks if there are any
Oh, so we got
newspapers
any
to
papers?
the shopkeeper, which he
Nothing.
of course doesn't answer given that he's
Owe you
transformed.
about 15p.
Because Shaun is so used to this routine, he doesn't notice anything. The continuous shot is important here for two reasons. First, it puts us into Shaun's shoes. This routine is so familiar to him that he takes the exact same paces every day with little thought. We get a better understanding of how monotonous his life must be to have such a set routine. The second purpose is to provide an even closer contrast between the pre and post outbreak worlds. The differences here are night and day. If Shaun can't see it, how mindless can he be? Is he really that different from the undead? To conclude, the film Shaun of the Dead uses acting, editing, and cinematography to convey the message that people are like zombies, mindless and desensitized to life because their monotonous, aimless lives have made them so. The actors act with no energy and blank expressions, while the shots and their transitions put us into the shoes of someone living in a similar way. Ultimately, despite being human, we are not that far from zombies, according to Shaun of the Dead.